Hey yo, it's Retro. Welcome to another video. No, things kind of got like moved around. I'm trying something new right now, so let's not talk about it. But for now, y'all saw the title of the video. We're talking about the new Batman that has came out, man. For so many years, Batman, along with his comics, have been synonymous with darkness. Between his use of fear to hiding in the shadows, it makes sense. Even from his inception, Bill Finger and Bob Kane clad this caped crusader in black and gray. But for a moment, there was a time where Batman was a mostly brightly colored and light-hearted character. The duo that perfectly encapsulated this part of Batman to me, notably, were Alan Grant and Norm Brayfogle, my favorite creators who ever took over Batman. But ever since the early 80s, and especially even more so after Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli retold the Dark Knight's origin in Batman Year One, and then subsequently Frank Miller would go on to further redefine Batman as a character in The Dark Knight Returns, Batman has been a sort of poster child for grim dark in comics. Even lately, that tone has stayed the same. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's illustrious New 52 Batman had flashes of brightness, but mostly was a gritty, dark reinvention of Batman in the 2010s. Tom King, David Finch, and Mikhail Yanin's controversial Batman Rebirth hardly had Bruce crack a smile and classically, primarily, took place at night. James Tynion IV's run came close in tone, but still had a lot of dark landscapes and atmosphere, and Ram V and Company's operatic magnum opus on Detective Comics was as dark and dramatic as they get. But now, Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez, and Tameo Mori have brought Batman back into the light with their brand new Batman #1. Y'all knew this was coming. Like, I read this immediately. I was like, I gotta make a video about it. I'm a little bit late, about like 2 weeks, whatever, but it's here, man. A comic I have been itching for ages, and it did not disappoint. Like, truthfully, I loved every single page of this first issue, and the same feeling I had reading Absolute Batman #1, Detective Comics number 1062, and New 52 Batman #1 is the same feeling I had reading this issue. So let's get into it. So first, to get this out of the way, this new Batman #1 per the creative team takes place explicitly after Chip Zdarsky's run, which I did review, but you don't need to read it for this, because this first issue feels like one of the most perfect #1s to a character that has so much history. I reread this comic several times the morning that it came out, and in fact, before I even got to page 10, I read issues 1 through 9 multiple times, because I was so enthralled by this comic early on, and I was captivated by it immediately. I'm gonna be hard pressed to find a better #1, a better issue, honestly, this year. Matt Fraction is writing a deeply hurt Batman who is trying his best to move forward in the face of comics' cycle of progression and regression. This cyclical nature of comics, couple that with each issue being standalone stories and building up as the series goes on, this was the perfect run to relaunch Batman, and yeah, I'm excited. So before we get really deep into it, spoilers for Batman #1 2025 by Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez, and Tameo Mori. Make sure y'all read it. Y'all read it? Okay. So this issue opens up with Jim Gordon as a beat cop now. Yes, he's no longer commissioner. He hasn't been commissioner for a while, no matter how bad Officer Espinosa wishes to call him commissioner. And yeah, this has been going on for a while now, ever since, I believe, Ram V's Detective Comics series. I think, around there, Jim Gordon was a PI. He was a private investigator, was no longer commissioner. Now he's back on the police force. And while they're talking, they're surprised by Killer Croc, who has gone feral and crashes into a meat van to eat some steak. They call him back up as we switch to one of the best damn pages in this book, as Batman is staring down the hole in the wall of the building that Killer Croc crashed out of. He talks with the new character, Dr. Zeller, who seems to be the main doctor of Arkham Tower now. If you don't know Arkham Tower, it has replaced Arkham Asylum, and that was in Mariko Tamaki's Detective Comics run. Basically, it's now a tower that sprawls all the way up, and they're actually working to rehab people now instead of what they used to do. Basically, it's kind of a redefinition of what Arkham was. So with Dr. Zeller here, she is mainly in charge, at least, of Killer Croc. She's the main one taking care of Killer Croc. And right off the bat, we get a really good moment, a presentation of Batman's character in the context of all he's done really in the past like 80 years. One thing that Matt Fraction has said while gearing up for this book's release is that he's writing this with the idea of all of Batman's history being known to him, which is a wonderful idea because that gives us a Batman with a possible jaded perspective, but also a perspective that is willing to be changed because he has seen so much. We see Batman speak about people never really changing and how tired of this back and forth he has with his villains he is. And a pretty quick solution, of course, would be to kill them, as some people would try to say. Yes, that's an easy solution, but have you considered the idea that a superhero values life, believing in people so much that they believe in second chances? It's integral to a superhero and their want to save lives. At the same time, though, Batman is human. He can still be a little cynical, and it's a wonderful display of cynicism in this issue. I see all of this throughout Batman within these first 2 pages he appears. I love this very first appearance. It's a brilliant way to grapple with the idea that everything is canon in the DC universe. It's definitely a meta commentary on comics being cyclical and constantly having characters progress and regress, but that's not what this video is about. Let's get back to the issue here. During the scene, Batman and Dr. Zeller begin to analyze the scene, and Zeller gives Batman some information on the idea that Wayland is not just shedding his exterior skin, but he may be shedding mentally, as if he's regressing to a child, or rather a more simple mutated person. This sets up the end of this issue, so I won't expand on it yet, but it's a wonderful beginning to what you can tell the whole idea of this story is going to be. But then Batman jumps out of the building and we are greeted by the most beautiful page of this issue. Gotham City in all of its beauty, penned by hand by Jorge Jimenez and colored by Tomeo Mori. Probably the single most beautiful page that has ever been printed this year, and it's physical. Jorge Jimenez literally drew this on paper instead of digitally, what he normally does, and it's a big ass page, and if I could get my hands on it, I would. Gotham skyline during the day, something you don't see often. Gotham City, obviously we see normally at night, but this is one of the few times we get to see it during the day, and for it to be in the first issue of a series is awesome. And with it, we have the news reporting of multiple crime issues and side effects of Vandal Savage being commissioner. Crime is down, as Vandal Savage says it, but the danger to civilians is still definitely high. A supervillain that is immortal is commissioner of the police force in Gotham City. You really can't get worse than that, like, I'm gonna be real. And he is positioned as this big obstacle currently as he continues to further corrupt Gotham's police force with a private security, tactical urban combat officers. They execute high intensity security operations like recapturing Killer Croc. That sounds like a load of croc. As they aid and abet the GCPD in bringing law and order back to the streets. If these words even left the mouth of anybody in a position of power, anywhere, I'd be terrified too. This is a horrible person to be in any position of power. Crime is down my ass. It's really like, it's actually a great thing that like this is happening. I like that Vandal Savage is commissioner. I'm interested to see how he, faces off Batman in this whole status quo. It's a very interesting idea. We're also then introduced to a couple things. One, Batman's new Batmobile, which looks just so fucking cool. It's just an awesome Batmobile. That's all I have to say. And then Bruce is imagining Alfred talking to him, which is a first. Ever since Alfred has died, and if you did not know, Alfred is still dead. Ever since City of Bane, when Bane killed Alfred, he is still dead. And ever since his death, we haven't had like a hallucination, really. He hasn't really showed up. It's more so like his absence has had a lot of weight. But we have a Batman who is now the elder of the Batman family, but is not this wealth of wisdom and caretaking like Alfred is. We have a Batman and a Bat family who has essentially lost their rock, their center, and it's been a beautiful place of introspection for some characters, especially Bruce, who has had to stand up for his family and puts even more of the weight on his shoulders as he has to continue bringing light to the darkness of this life he leads, stopping crime and protecting people from the city that not only claimed his biological parents, but his adopted father who did everything he could to steer him right. Bruce misses Alfred dearly. We all do, even as a reader I do, and it's clear. I can't wait to see how this fully plays out, but showcasing Bruce's hallucination of Alfred in this way is incredibly brilliant. I love the input and perspective it brings to the book already. Shortly after this car ride, Bruce stops some creeps from harassing 2 girls and finally tracks down Croc, who is surrounded by butterflies glowing blue in Gotham's Natural History Museum, with Batman's entrance being preceded by a scared and crying girl who lifts her head, relieved that Batman has arrived. Initially, Batman wants to strike terror in Wayland until Wayland speaks and he notices that he's harmless. As hallucination Alfred begins to entertain Dr. Zeller's hypothesis of people being capable of change, and that Wayland's cycle has brought him back seemingly to a child who is alone in a violent, terrible world he can't understand, and that if people don't change, shouldn't Bruce also know how that feels? Gut-wrenching. A poignant and time-slowing moment that stops Batman in its tracks, obviously hearkening to Bruce's time after the death of his parents, where he was alone and scared and had to change in a world that was violent and terrible. And it makes Bruce completely change his approach to how he was going to deal with Wayland. We're then treated by one of the cutest and sweetest moments I've seen in a Batman book in a while, where Bruce removes his mask, sits next to Wayland on the floor, and they talk. And Wayland, very childlike, mentions how his brain is different now, and he thinks of himself as a bad person. But it's done in a way where he sounds so innocent and curious about it that you can tell none of what he is doing comes from a place of malice. He isn't a bad person. He just needs guidance now after all of this changing that has occurred both physically and mentally. He accepts Dr. Zeller as a person who helps him and asks Batman if someone helps him. And when Batman says he doesn't need help, Croc says, "If you say so," in the same way a child would. This interaction between Wayland and Bruce is the crowning jewel moment of this issue. It shows how incredibly down-to-earth Batman truly is, and even shows that yes, some of these criminals are worth that second chance. That Batman's mission in wanting to stop crime by trying to redeem people is possible. This issue ends with Tim Drake showing off his new suit as he's caught by some cops after busting a criminal, as he asks Batman if they have any allies in GCPD. Yeah man, I love this. It feels like the kind of comic that comics used to be, where it's mildly episodic. It seems like each issue will clearly be telling a different story, but they're all within this overarching arc where Bruce is grappling with age, change, and time. It's a perfect premise for a Batman book, and it's a very nice change of pace from most comics having an overarching plot for 30-something issues and taking that long to actually resolve it or get some sort of resolution. No shade to those. I just am excited that both can exist finally. Matt Fraction is a sublime pick for Batman, and his voice will absolutely bring something new to the title. It already is, in fact, to me. Like, he was one of my first picks when I thought about like a new Batman writer, and I am just so glad that he's here. Jorge Jimenez and Tomeo Mori back on art duties for Batman is always going to keep me on coming back. Like, they're just the dynamic duo for Batman comics right now. They are the Batman artists. This entire book is just exceptionally well drawn, and there's a lot of visual storytelling within here as well. Not to mention the gadgets that have been used throughout this issue. If you've read Matt Fraction and David Aja's Hawkeye, you know how they love to emphasize gadgets when they're used, and it's the same way here. I love it. Jimenez and Mori have been on Batman for a solid 3 years now, on and off, and they've become synonymous to the modern image of what Batman looks like, and it's deserved. This issue in general, like, it can show you that entirely. This book is gorgeous, man. It's bright, it's flashy. The new suit is beautiful. I love the gray and blue. There's no hint of yellow except for the utility belt, but I think that's fine. Like, the new logo is awesome. It's just a beautiful, like, new suit. And yeah, Matt Fraction wants to bring a classic superhero forward take to this book while keeping it episodic, and Jimenez and Mori are the perfect pick to match that. I think we're in for another amazing take on Batman, and yeah, of course I'll be reading this every month. But yeah, as always, if you are new, hit that subscribe button for more videos. Comment your thoughts on this new Batman #1 by Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez, and Tomeo Mori. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next video, man. Peace.